do you live in a country where you have a president, you have a first lady, you have the first son, you have the first daughter? The one family has basically... Have you not seen videos of Tinubu being given preference over ministers? Mr. Ebuka, in which serious country do you permit that? Because, to begin with, if you are going to use pipeline vandalization as an excuse to declare a state of emergency, I personally find the argument about whether the president can suspend a governor or not offensive. It is an argument that should never even be put forward. But whether there is a basis to declare a state of emergency, if it is pipeline vandalization, why is Governor of Bayelsa State still in office? Because just 3 days after, pipeline was blown in Bayelsa. Since this president Tinubu became president, Nigeria has lost billions, if not trillions, due to vandalization of oil installations and due to the theft of oil in the Niger Delta. Why has the president not declared a state of emergency to remove? And by the way, does the governor control the pipeline? Is the governor the appointer of the Inspector General of Police? Is it the appointer of the Chief of Naval Staff? Is it the governor that awarded pipeline protection contract to Tombolo and others? So this is an excuse that the president has manufactured in his head. And let us be more serious. Even if you are saying that because there is an insecurity in a state, you want to remove the governor. Mr. Ebuka, I'm talking to you. People are fleeing their homes in their thousands in those states. The president has not declared a state of emergency. As I'm talking to you, there is this crisis in Osun State. Communal crisis where people are running everywhere. The president hasn't even come out to say anything. In the north, people are being slaughtered. So if it is that once there is security, you must remove the chief executive officer, Tinubu himself should no longer be president. Well, the Nigerian judiciary is the Nigerian judiciary. It is not an American judiciary. It is not Congolese judiciary. It is not Zimbabwean judiciary. Judiciary existing in Nigeria is a reflection of the Nigerian society. Now, if you look at what has happened in Rivers State, let's even start from Parliament. I personally am not surprised. You have a man at the Senate who is the former governor of my state. I always say I can write a book in volumes about Godswill Akpabio. I don't want to discuss him today. But you have a National Assembly that almost all their members stood on their feet singing, "On your mandate,
we shall stand.
On your mandate, Bola, on your they are standing on Tinubu's mandate. The question is, what is that mandate? I had asked on this TV station. Is it a mandate of corruption? Is it a mandate of accountability? Is it a mandate to ensure that we have stable electricity? They are still standing on Tinubu's mandate. You know what makes this laughable? The Senate President is a lawyer. A senior lawyer for that matter. Section 11 of the Constitution is clear that where House of Assembly cannot perform its legislative responsibilities, the National Assembly has the power temporarily to assume the legislative functions of the House of Assembly. But guess what, Mr. Ebuka? That same Section 11 says that where that is the case, they shall not have power to remove the governor or deputy governor. So assuming that the argument is even that the Rivers State House of Assembly is unable to function, okay, and National Assembly is to intervene, the Constitution says they cannot remove the governor. Now, guess what again? The administrator, sole administrator, I don't even know. I saw I don't know, because I mean, you are in entertainment, you are a big shot in entertainment. I did not see you. I know you are not a comedian, but I did not see all the Sabinos and the others in the villa when Tinubu was carrying out that comic display in the name of swearing in a sole administrator. You say you are swearing him in with which constitution? Which oath of office? Because under the constitution.
And he took office before the National Assembly. Before the National, he saw him on the same day.
Of course, it was predetermined. But I'm saying, which oath did he subscribe to? Is there enough oath for sole administrator under our constitution? And you are saying they have even now released, from what I read, about 400 billion that was withheld based on the judgment of the Supreme Court. Because you mentioned the judiciary. Supreme Court says that because the governor did not recognize the Emawele-led house, did not present the budget to them, therefore there is justification to withhold Rivers State allocation. Now, Tinubu in his broadcast to Nigerians said that Fubara did not implement the decision of the Supreme Court. But in you now wanting to claim you want to obey the constitution, you have gone ahead to remove the governor, remove the deputy governor, remove the house. You are now releasing the budget that Speaker said should be withheld because there was no House of Assembly to a sole administrator after you have dissolved the same House of Assembly. So you see how they are making a mockery of our country. And Section 120 and 121 is clear that 1 kobo of the resources of a state cannot be appropriated, cannot be used without what is called an appropriation law. This Vice Admiral Ibok that has now been appointed as sole administrator, which budget is he going to implement with the money that has been released to him? This is an illegality that has been cooked in the villa, and I will even say it is a coup against the government of Rivers State, because the very idea of saying that you are suspending a House of Assembly of a state, you are suspending a governor of a state, It's unheard of. It is totally unacceptable. There is no legal argument that can support this. And in any event, the governor has 4 years. He cannot be denied 1 hour of that 4 years, except for the circumstances that are earlier highlighted. So who is the president to say that he can sit in a villa, make a broadcast, and remove the governor? What stops Tinubu tomorrow from suspending the 36 state governors? All he needs to do is to manufacture a non-existent excuse. And that is why the Nigerian Bar Association, which I am a member, the current leadership led by Famous Igwe SN, has rightly deprecated what has happened. And I pray that the courts will intervene. Finally, when this happened in Plateau State, because you mentioned Plateau in 2004, people are saying, oh, Obasanjo did it. Who is Obasanjo? A military general? Who did they appoint? General Chris Ali, that was appointed in Plateau State. Ebuka, I want you to ask those who are listening, why is it that when a sole administrator is appointed, there is always someone with a military background? Because the very idea of appointing a sole administrator in a democracy is a product of the military, is a product of dictatorship. Now, when that matter went to the Supreme Court, unfortunately, the Supreme Court lost an opportunity to pronounce on it on technical grounds, saying that as at the time Dariye brought that action, or authorized the bringing of that action, the man who was sole administrator did not give consent to it. That is why Fubara cannot go to the Supreme Court. But why has Fubara not gone to the Federal High Court to challenge it? Because it looks like we're even crying more than they believe. I look at him today, coming out of a church in Port Harcourt. He's still smiling, wearing white. In his broadcast, he was still saying, in his statement, he was still saying, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, Tinubu has removed him from office. Fubara should become a man and begin to speak like a governor of a state. And it is very embarrassing that the 36 state governors are now becoming poets. They issued give Nigerians poetry to read, that they cannot intervene in a partisan matter. The South governors are divided. It shows you what we call complete state capture. That all institutions in our country today have been viciously captured. That you cannot find a single person, a single institution that is able to stand up and reprimand this president for what he has done. And when Nigerians went to protest during the End Bad Governance, they were charged for treason, for carrying Russian flag. And some of them were asking the military to take over. Today, Tinubu has handed over Rivers State to the military. Because the man that is sole administrator is a member of the military, even though he has resigned. And look at the man. He says he wants to restore law and order. Before he was appointed, were schools on fire? Were churches not functioning in Rivers State? Were civil servants not going to work? What is the law and order that you want to restore? This is an illegality that Tinubu has bettered. And Nigerians have a responsibility to oppose it. It sickens me that this party, APC, that came to power through protest, you recall the Occupy Nigeria movement, the role that they played. Suddenly today, protest has become a treasonable act. This is our country. We cannot run away. How do you live in a country where you have a president, you have a first lady, you have the first son, you have the first daughter? The one family has basically, have you not seen videos of Tinubu being given preference over ministers? Mr. Ibuka, in which serious country do you permit that? Have you seen the comfort that Tinubu moves around? Have you seen the comfort of the president and the Senate president? These people are taking us for a ride. They believe Nigerians are conquered people. It is left for us to determine whether we will permit this or not. But we have to begin to demand systemic and drastic changes in the way things are done. And it is because they are not afraid, Ebuka. They claim that they have approved the so-called emergency. The constitution said you need 2/3. Mr. Ebuka, there is no journalist in Nigeria, nobody in Nigeria today can give you the number of senators that voted in favor of the emergency. Why? Because it was by voice vote. How do you determine 2/3 by voice? People just screaming, yeah. A year. How do you determine 2/3 of that? How do you determine 2/3 by voice? It has to be by head count. So the National Assembly embarrassed itself. The National Assembly has abdicated its responsibility, and that is why I say that what we have now is a case of parliamentary redundancy. They have become redundant. They no longer realize the responsibilities that they have, and it is painful because when the military struck, only the judiciary was preserved. Normally, they will dissolve the executive, dissolve the legislature, and now use auster clauses to limit the powers of a course. But the judiciary is always standing. But these lawmakers, so-called lawmakers, that are saying that on Tinubu's mandate they must start, they did not even have the decency to allow for a head count. To even say, oh, we want to legitimize the legality. The fact that there was no head count, that we cannot say how many members of the House of Reps voted for the emergency, we cannot say how many senators voted, it shows you how decayed, it shows you how flawed our governance system is. And that is why the people must make up their minds whether they want to live as slaves or they want to live as citizens. Because what is happening today, quite sadly, is looking at as if Nigerians are being treated as slaves in their own country. And it pains me that you couldn't have even one senator, not even the Senate minority leader, not the minority whip, not even one. The serial critics in former Governor Bayelsa that even tried to speak, he had to work out with the Baribe and others. Opposition is dead in the National Assembly. Opposition is dead in our country. The same thing in the House of Reps. It is very shameful. It is very shameful that this is the situation that we have found ourselves. And I want to disagree with him. Tinubu is not a Democrat. You know, in mass communication, there's what we call proper labeling. I don't know where Tinubu said he's a Democrat. If he had claimed to be a Democrat in the past, his assumption of office as president and his actions has shown that contrary to what he has said, this is a full dictatorship. So they are not pretending to be Democrats. They know they are not Democrats. Tinubu himself knows that he's not a Democrat. No Democrat will wake up and say you are removing a democratically elected governor from office.
All right.